In this video, we'll be looking at this M94 AI real-time translation earbuds. They did send this in before review, but as always, that does not affect our opinion in any way. So starting off with the box here, it is a little bit interesting. It doesn't say anything about the translation feature. Of course, the listing does, but it's a little bit interesting that they don't advertise that anywhere. They're just kind of advertising them as normal headphones, so a little bit odd. They did spell earphone wrong on the box here, so not an amazing start, of course, but we'll go ahead and get into the box here. Looks like we have a note thanking us for our purchase. It does say translating headset here, so I suppose it is translating in the end. They just kind of use a different box or something like that. But then we just have the manuals here and the instructions for downloading the mobile app. Here we have the actual headphones themselves, just kind of in a little plastic bag. Looks like we do have the screen here, so it says to kind of unlock it, you go like that. So it's interesting. We haven't set it up yet, of course, but it does have a nice display here on the front, and it does say it's 2:36 a.m. But we'll go ahead and, of course, set this up in a minute. On the top here, it looks like we have a USB-C port for charging, a micro SD card slot, and then another button. On the bottom, there's nothing, and then we can go ahead and open them up here. Then we just have the earbuds themselves, so left and right. Again, they don't actually go in your ear, which is interesting, so they kind of sit over your ear, as you can see. So it's a little bit of a unique design, but we'll go ahead and try them out and see how they are. But yeah, that's just kind of a first look at them. Of course, we'll go into them more after we use them. The only other thing we have in the box here should be a instruction manual and then a USB-C charging cable for, of course, charging the earbuds and the case. So again, we'll go ahead and get these all set up and use them for a while, and then we'll come back with our opinions on them. Alright, so we got these headphones all set up and we've been using them for a while, but the first thing we'll talk about is the case itself. So as I showed you earlier, this case has a kind of display on the front of it, so you can activate it by just tapping on it, and you can unlock it like this, and then we can go through the different settings here. So there's a bunch of different functionality built into the actual case, which is interesting. You can adjust the equalizer of the headphones, you can adjust the volume, it can be a music remote, or you can play games on the actual case itself. It also has an SD card mode, so if you wanted to put an SD card in the case itself, you actually don't need to use a phone at all to play music, which is cool, so you can play music directly using this case and the headphones. There's music lists. You can use this as a remote to take photos on your phone. This has a flashlight, so this kind of makes the screen white. There's a Find My Earphone feature, which just makes the earphones play a noise. There's the time settings, and you can change the wallpaper and do all that. So quite a bit of functionality in the actual case itself, which is interesting. So it is nice having that touchscreen. All of the translation features and everything are not built into the case itself. It is through a separate mobile app. So that's a little bit unfortunate. If you're buying it for the translating, you will still have to use a phone with a mobile app installed. But it is cool to have these additional functionalities built into the case. As far as the earphones themselves go, they do look pretty good, as I showed you earlier. The backboard does retract fingerprints a little bit, which I think is slightly unfortunate, but not a huge deal, of course. They do have some touch controls built into them, so you can adjust the volume and pause and skip music and all that just by touching the touch capacitive back here. So pretty cool to be able to control all of that directly on the earbuds, but of course you can also use the case or your phone. So a bunch of different options there. In terms of the fit of them, as I said earlier, they don't actually go into your ear. They do just kind of sit over your ear, which is a little bit more comfortable depending on what you're doing. This speaker just essentially blasts music into your ear without having to actually have a silicone tip or anything that goes into your ear. This will of course make you much more aware of your environment. So if you're going to be biking or running or something like that, then you're able to hear cars and such around you. Or if you're going to be using these for translating, which of course is one of their biggest features, then you will be able to actually hear what's happening in the conversation, not only through the actual earbud. So it does just allow you to have a little bit more environmental awareness, and I think it is very comfortable because you don't have anything actually in your ear. So it is a little bit particular and maybe not for everyone, but it is definitely a nice feature to have, especially in a translating pair of earbuds. One downside to them not actually sitting in your ear is that the audio quality is a little bit worse in my opinion. You're also going to have some more sound leakage, so people around you will be able to hear your music a little bit, but it's not too bad. But the main thing is that you won't have as much bass or mids or highs or anything like that because you just have the speaker outside of your ear rather than actually inside your ear. So bass is definitely the biggest noticeable difference, again, just because you don't have something actually in your ear kind of vibrating, it is outside your ears. So you will have a lot less bass, but I think you kind of gain comfort and some environmental awareness as a trade-off. So not a huge deal, and again, especially for a translating pair of earbuds, it's kind of nice that they don't actually go in your ear. As far as the actual translation features go, this is all done through the mobile app. So you will require them to be connected to a phone with an internet connection unless you want to pay extra. If you pay extra, you do get this premium service, which is offline translation. But for most people, you will need a mobile phone with internet connection and this app installed. This translating feature would actually work with any pair of headphones in theory, but they do require you to kind of register your device. So when you actually open this app, you'll have to scan a QR code that comes with these headphones. That's a one-time use code, and it will actually kind of authorize the app. So as you can see, if I press this button here, it says authorized device is connected. So these specific headphones are now kind of the authorized device in order to be able to use the translating feature. So you will have to actually connect them in order to access those features. So we can just take them out here and you can see it connects really quickly. This should kind of appear automatically here. Yeah, it says connected. So It is very fast to connect, which is nice after you've kind of set them up for the first time. And now from here, we can actually go ahead and use these different features. So there's the meeting assistant, which will essentially take notes for you and kind of transcribe meetings or conversations or such. There's an AI assistant, which is just kind of a conversational AI you can use. Or there's the main feature, which is a simultaneous interpretation or translating. So we can go ahead and tap on this. As you can see, I've kind of been messing around with it in Portuguese, but I'll go ahead and show you kind of what it sounds like. It does actually work much better than I was expecting, which is a really positive thing. So again, it will depend on your internet speed unless you pay for that offline translating, but it does work much better than I expected, which is really cool. I'll go ahead and show you the translating feature. So we'll be translating my English into Brazilian Portuguese. So if I go ahead and speak here, I can just kind of say whatever I want and it will automatically transcribe what I'm saying here. And then once I press pause, or if I stop speaking, I'll just do it by stopping speaking here.
Então, se eu falar aqui, posso simplesmente dizer o que quiser e o programa transcreverá automaticamente o que estou dizendo. E então, quando eu pressionar pausa ou parar de falar, farei isso parando de falar aqui.
So as I was saying, if I were to let it finish translating, then I were to say something else in English, it would get a little bit confused because it would be expecting a Portuguese response. But for most situations, it will actually work very well. As you can see, the translation was pretty quick. It sounds really good, actually. I think the voice it uses actually sounds pretty natural and pretty good. And then the main thing is that it was actually pretty quick. And you can read what it's saying, and it's also kind of plays through your earbuds on your ears. So the translating part definitely works a lot better than I was expecting, and I'm definitely happy with the results there. So overall, it's a pretty solid set of earbuds. I am surprised to say that actually the best part is the translating feature. It's a little bit unfortunate that it requires a really specific mobile app and internet connection and all that. I think if they were able to build in that offline translation into the actual case itself, for example, you're able to like put a language on an SD card or something and then be able to just carry this case around and have the translating be done automatically would be really cool. It is nice that you at least have the option to pay for the offline translating, but I do wish that was included, of course. However, in a lot of scenarios, you will, of course, be with your phone connected to internet and all that, so it's still definitely a very usable situation. I don't think it's worlds better than like taking out your phone and talking into Google Translate, for example, so that's one negative. The nice part is that they do actually play directly into your ears, so you can kind of use the translating to actually understand and have more of a conversation rather than just speaking into a phone. And I think the fact that they don't block out your environmental noise is very nice as well. The one downside I would say is that the sound quality could be a bit better. Of course, that's just due to them not being in ear. So I think that is one sort of downside. If you're going to be listening to music or something, then again, people around you can hear it a little bit and it won't be as high of quality as other headphones. But of course, the main use case is translating, which they do a really good job of. Being able to play music and even games on the case and all that is just extra in my opinion. So it's a pretty solid product overall.